Hey everybody, welcome to episode 5 of How I Changed the Law. You've been following along on this journey with me of when my son was threatened to be shot and killed in 2018 and how I found a flaw in the law and I worked to change it. And through this series, I'm hoping to post the transparency of that process, how I did it. And in this episode, going to the Arizona's Education Committee, I believe is what this was. Again, this was back in 2019, I think, is when this happened. We weren't able to get a vote on it in 2018, so we tried again in 2019. And so now we're in a subcommittee, and after this, we get to go to the floor and vote and see if we can actually make some change. So in this episode, you're going to see me give a speech at the subcommittee and answer some questions, and then the vote. So you could see who voted and how they voted, and see if you want to vote for those folks again. Uh, I always encourage you guys, man. You got to research the candidates that represent you, candidates that are like-minded in whatever cause that you want to fight for. But man, I was passionate in this one. I was fired up a bit. If you guys don't know the reason that I was speaking so quick at the board meeting, and if you've never spoken at one of these types of hearings, they only give you a limited time, and I had to get everything I wanted to say in under 3 minutes. So a lot of preparation. Make sure you get the right points across in that 3 minutes. So that's why I'm talking so fast, and but I think I got my points across. Tell me what you think in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy episode 5. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a nice day and be good humans.
All right, fine. And I have a constituent who brought this issue to me, who can express the need for it and much more eloquently than I can. But frankly, it's what the schools ought to be doing. Some may be already doing this in terms of notifying when an incident occurs in school and has the right protocols that they follow. In this instance, they did not. And it was very clear that the need for direction may be there for other schools as well. So I would ask you to invite Mr. Goodnow up to talk about his story and his experience, if you would, and would appreciate your support for the bill.
Any questions for?
No, I only have one scheduled request you to speak. It's John Goodnow?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes. And I don't think it'll take longer than a couple minutes, but if you'll just bear with him,
I guess we'll give him his due, and you're one left over.
All right.
Oh, perfect. I had it cut down to 3 minutes, so I was making edits during lunch. So I'll make it quick, and we'll read through it really quick. Chairman Payne, committee members, thank you for your time and consideration, and special thanks to Senator Bartow and Allen for their sponsorship of House Bill 2119. I'd like to take this time to share my son's story, which resulted in House Bill 2119, offer feedback, and provide solutions on what I believe to still be gaps in the current legislation as written. 1 year ago today, a student at Mountain Trail Middle School made a death threat against my son and 2 other students, along with statements about shooting up the school. That student was arrested and charges forwarded for prosecution. A teacher overheard this threat, and one of the students reported that threat to the assistant principal. No calls were made to parents, the board, or law enforcement, and there was no policy in place to ensure that an incident of this nature would be immediately reported to the school board. One of the students who was threatened notified their parent, who in turn notified the police. Neither the school board nor the board, or neither the school nor the board acted until the parents involved Phoenix PD. Had I, as a parent, not done my due diligence to get to the bottom of what happened by interviewing the assistant principal, who lied to me during that interview, the superintendent, who was less than forthcoming in their answers, and filing a complaint with the Department of Education, I am not confident that any administrative action would even have been taken. On March 28th of 2018, there was a shooting/bomb threat at High Desert Middle School in Globe, Arizona. Similarly, the principal did not report that threat to law enforcement. However, that principal was charged by law enforcement with endangerment. The current law that applies to this statute is ARS 15341, which states the governing board shall. There is no duty to report requirement in the law for school administrators, teachers, or staff, nor is there a judicial consequence for not reporting an incident. This disparity in the law, as it is currently written, leaves law enforcement inhibited in their ability to enforce neglectful practices consistently across this great state of Arizona. House Bill 2119 is a good start by mandating the schools at a minimum develop a plan of action for reporting such incidents that threaten the lives of our children. However, it falls short of any judicial consequences, leaving law enforcement without the tools necessary to safeguard our children consistently across the state. It is my request that this legislative body support and approve House Bill 2119 as written, and this legislative body continue this important work, making school administrators, teachers, staff, and mandatory reporters of incidents of threat of death or serious violence with judicial consequences, just as they are mandated under ARS 133620, which covers duty to report abuse, physical injury, or neglect of minors, which outlines who mandatory reporters are and the judicial consequences. In our current climate, incidents of serious threats or violence should be included in ARS 133620. By doing so, there will be clarity in the law, consistent judicial consequences for not reporting these serious incidents, and give law enforcement the tools necessary to safeguard our children consistently across the state. Thank you for taking the time to hear my son's story, and I encourage you to continue the work that you've done. My child's life depends on it. Your children's life depends on it. And the children's lives of your constituents depend on it. I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you for your time.
Members, any questions? Yes,
Sir, so in this instance, I didn't really hear all your testimony. I apologize. I got a lot of people saying a lot of things.
Copy that.
Was the school board notified, any action taken at the school board level?
Not until the parents involved Phoenix PD, and I became personally involved and asked for a interview with the assistant superintendent.
Were there any attempts to go to the school board and ask them to intervene? And I'm saying that because, again, this is why, again, and I'm not going to repeat my two previous comments on two separate bills. This is the third bill we've heard about mandating schools to do the job. You're going to the state, and I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to mandate the schools to do something, and I get that, but that's why we have school boards. And you know, if by now they don't have a plan in place, or if by now they are not reporting things that would get somebody's attention, then they should be held accountable. Running a bill, in my opinion, if this same instance came up and we had this in place, what would we be able to do?
Sir, if I may respond, Chairman and Representative Kern, I spoke at 3 board meetings with the school board. I was approached on a one-on-one with the human resources representative for the school board. I was assured that I would be advised of the results of their investigation. I have, to this date, 1 year later, have not heard back. This is why I think it's important that we, in addition to mandating, that the schools at least have a policy and a procedure in place to make sure that these incidents are reported, that there's judicial accountability to those responsible for our children.
Sure. And to that point, sir, I agree, and Mr. Chair, I agree with everything you're saying. I agree with the bill. I do. But that's why we elect the Arizona Department of Education person. They should be the ones that you guys are storming and saying, we want this in place. Or the school board, and we come to this legislature and we feel good, but if we were to, I don't see anything about enforcement necessarily. It just kind of outlines. I'm probably going to be voting yes on the bill today. I'm not trying to say I'm going to no on the bill. But again, you're looking for a comfort zone, and we're not it. But everybody thinks we are. And then we feel good, and then something happens in a school, and then nothing's done, and then we go to the next level, and the next level, and pretty soon, we might as well take schools over. The legislature might as well get rid of all the districts and take over the schools.
If I may respond, sir?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Kern, I did go to the Arizona Department of Education. They did conduct an investigation. I am not aware of any administrative action that was taken against the teacher that overheard the threat, and the assistant principal who was advised of the threat and did not report the threat resigned during the course of the investigation. Other than that, I have received no communication from the Arizona Department of Education I have done everything I can. So I come to the state legislature to step in. If the school boards won't do it, the Arizona Department of Education won't do it, I'm hoping that my elected representatives will step in and look out for our children.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. School boards, in my opinion, from what I've observed over the 5 years I've been in office, don't do their jobs. They're generally, people on the school boards have kids in the school. They go along with the school superintendent, whatever. They're not there to do the things they're really designed to do, which is, in your case, oversee and make sure that the officials report incidents like this. They don't do their jobs when it comes time to oversee the spending of the school district, which is very difficult to follow. That's what the school boards are for. My suggestion to you is run for school board or run for public office. That's what it takes. If you were on that school board, I think it would be a different makeup. But like everything else, it's hard, it's a lot of work, it takes time, and by default, you get people in there that don't do anything. I worked in law enforcement 27 years. We had a little saying: big cases, big problems; middle cases, little problems; no cases, no problems. So it's easier to ignore, and that's what they do, and that's what's happened in this case. So for that reason alone, I support having some kind of a threshold that will force them to report. Thank you.
Mr. Cameron. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And actually for the sponsor, this is based on what Representative Kern said. You need to put a penalty in here, because, I mean, I checked with Ledge Council, but to the best of my knowledge, without a penalty, they can ignore this with impunity.
And to that point, that's I'm looking at the penalty, and it's like, oh, okay, there's no penalty. What is gonna, I mean, first time, second time, maybe suspend them, get rid of them, I don't know, withhold funding, something that's gonna get their attention. Because again, it's the safety of our children, and I just think there needs to be a strong penalty in there if they do not comply.
Thank you, Representative Kern.
Any other questions for the?
Thank you for your time.
And thank you just briefly, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Kelly. I appreciate your comments. I do think it's a good first step, and if you think we could add a penalty successfully, I think I'm certainly open to that. I do at the minimum believe that they do need to be told what to do and what their protocol ought to entail. That's the purpose of the bill initially. It wasn't included in the school safety bill last year. We worked with the governor on the language, and I'm open to amending it to include an action.
And to that point, Representative, and maybe just the people that are testifying are in favor, ask them what they think the penalty should be. This is not the first story I heard. There's a person working here at the Capitol. We went out to dinner, and she told me about her son that actually witnessed another student actually threatening, and it was reported nothing done. So I know that exists. There's got to be something out there that we can approve and then penalty. Maybe it's a misdemeanor against that person that did not report. I don't know what it is.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kern.
Big bill popping somewhere between now and the end of the session, based on what happened last year, or what didn't happen last year. But in any respect, this is critical. We're not talking here about requiring school officials to report 2 kids who got into a little shoving match. We're not talking about having to report a kid who was found with some marijuana. We're talking about making reports for serious, dangerous offenses. We're talking about assaults involving deadly weapons, dangerous instruments, causing serious physical injury, or threatening death or serious injury. These are egregious situations. I am shocked that some schools would even think of covering this up, and it's really quite amazing. As we proceed forward, either in a piecemeal construction of a school safety plan or a large one that will come later on from somewhere, this becomes a really important part, because all these plans talk about interventions, having the person that's seriously mentally ill taken into custody, which a police officer has to do. A teacher can't say somebody's a threat to themselves or other due to mental illness and bring them to a hospital for mandatory observation. That's a police officer to do that. If they're not calling the police for these things, then there is no school safety. We can have all the stop orders, we can have all the orders of protection, but if schools are covering up dangerous, violent students, then all of our safeguards are nothing. This is really important, and I know there may be some people who are concerned about the so-called school-to-prison pipeline, but we're not talking about marijuana possession, we're not talking about a shoving match, we're not talking about minor things. This is really serious violent stuff that needs to be reported to the police expedition.
I concur, you're repeating your going over and over again. All right, now, you moved the bill or?
I did, I thought you were.
He was actually after me all night for about. All right, so here we go. Do we have to move again? For recognition. Members, the motion is HB 2119. You see the due pass recommendation. Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Andrade?
Mr. Chairman, I mean, I listened to the testimony and everything, and the questions that are going through my head are like, okay, run for school board, correct some of these actions that you're talking about, bring them forth, accessibility of guns in the home and everything. I mean, there's so many other things that are going through my head right now. And to say that we don't care about students, or we do care about students, I think all of us care about students and everything, which is why are we coming up with a bigger plan to address a lot of these issues? What about school counselors in the classrooms that are shorted, and other things we need in the classrooms to help address some of these? Unfunded mandates is one of them that I think about all the time. There's so many things that we face here in the legislature, underlying issues we really need to start addressing, but yet the optics are, okay, we're going to do a feel-good thing because this is needed and everything. Sir, I'm going to encourage you very strongly to run for your school board in your district and everything, or even attend a school board meeting, and because I know they have public call to the public in those kind of meetings as well. To legislate this, I understand to a certain extent, but once again, it comes back down to the classrooms. It comes back to the resources needed in our schools. So for now, I think we're going to need a bigger discussion on the floor when we take this into Cal. And with that, for now, I'm going to vote no. Thank you.
Representative Campbell?
Aye.
Representative Fernandez?
Aye.
Representative Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Representative Longden?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Kern?
Rich, explain the rules. You don't need resources for common sense. And if somebody is assaulting somebody else, why would you not report that? You don't need a school counselor to report a violent action. And if there's administrators out there in school districts that are doing that not report it, I don't know, there should be some kind of a penalty. And I'm very much open to that penalty. So I absolutely advise everybody that is in favor of this bill to run for a school board and get on there and you know, show your clout. With that, I vote aye.
Chairman Payne?
I vote aye. I'm not running for the school board. I think there should be some more done. I don't know where's Representative Pardo Chile. There you are. I hope you're hearing us. It just needs teeth. With that, I vote aye.
That's a
Members. By your vote, 6 ayes, 1 nay. You have given HB 2119 a due pass recommendation.